My engagement with Dalit feminism began purely as an academic venture and ended up as an adventure of sorts. I still remember the day I came across Sharmila Rege's article, Dalit Women Talk Differently, as a part of feminist theory syllabus. It was a moment of inspiration, revelation, and retrospection. Exploring this area further has been a self-reflexive process where I came to understand my own position and privilege as well. So, to borrow from Sharmila Rege, this journey has been as much an unlearning as it has been a learning process. This book, titled Mapping Dalit Feminism, maps the discourse of Dalit feminism around caste and gender. Now, caste and gender, as we know today, are two extremely porous concepts. Discussions and debates continue to persist regarding their definitions, scopes, and relation vis-à-vis dominant and other marginalized positions. This has also given rise to the awareness that caste and gender, the two seemingly exclusive concepts, are actually highly interrelated categories. Mapping Dalit feminism explores such kind of understandings through the mapping of caste and gender. Now, this book emerges at a moment when dialogues and contestations pertaining to caste and gender and identity are on the rise. These conversations not only point at the hegemonic power structures, they also create a platform for counter narratives to emerge. In such context, Dalit feminism has proven itself to be a vanguard of an alternative perspective that challenges caste sexism and shows new scopes for coalition across identities, communities, regions, and religions. The time, therefore, is ripe to capture the broad contours of Dalit feminism. This mapping is done keeping that idea in mind. The time, therefore, is ripe to capture the broad contours of Dalit feminism. This mapping is done keeping that idea in mind. To address the discourse of Dalit feminism, the texts in this book include literary articulations, movements, scholarly writings, and popular culture. I use a comparative framework in all the chapters wherein I analyze Dalit feminism vis-à-vis mainstream Indian feminism and Dalit politics in order to elucidate the epistemological interventions Dalit feminism makes and how simultaneously it transforms mainstream Indian feminism and Dalit politics. Now, it is important to mention that this mapping does not intend to offer a single meaning to Dalit feminism. The purpose here is not to give Dalit feminism a definitive, totalizing shape. Quite contrarily, the aim of this book is to identify the underlying connections between the scattered events and show the specific conceptual contribution of Dalit feminism. Hence, it aims for epistemological intervention and transformation. This mapping, therefore, also becomes a praxis in challenging totalitarianism in politics and theory. The interventionist and transformative aspects of Dalit feminism are explored in this book in the fields of difference, identity, representation, agency, and positionality. The book elaborates on the key aspects of Dalit feminism, which is its contradiction vis-à-vis mainstream Indian feminism and Dalit politics, in redefining the categories such as women and Dalits, and the concept of dual patriarchies in revising the contours of patriarchy and Brahmanism through Brahmanical patriarchy. Emphasizing on the core theoretical framework of intersectionality, the book theorizes Dalit feminism by developing a new framework called intersectional standpoint. In this context, it is also important to elaborate on why I coined the term intersectional standpoint. Now, as an intersectional standpoint, Dalit feminism looks at how the system of caste and gender function intersectionally. The focus on the process and the functionality of systematic oppression expands our understanding of how these systems operate in other instances as well. Now, as an intersectional standpoint, Dalit feminism does not restrict its conceptual understanding only to Dalit women. As a theoretical framework, it actually provides a lens to reinterpret any text or event from a caste and gender angle. Let me give you an example. How recentering caste through the lens of caste gender can provide an alternative knowledge about the caste system can be seen through the immense controversy that was raised after Rohit Vemula's suicide in 2017. The debate over Vemula's caste and the subsequent affirmation of him adopting the caste of his mother, who was a Dalit, highlighted the obsession over the patriarchal and patrilineal caste system. This moment marks a doubt in the authenticity of a birth-based Dalit identity. The obsession over Vemula's lineage underscores the close connection between caste and gender and his subsequent defiance of the norms. Fixation of marriage within castes, also known as endogamy, ensured the perpetuation of caste segregation. Mixed marriages and the resultant sankara or mixed children posed a tremendous threat to clearly undermine the caste. To resolve this matter, exogamy was severely punished. The caste system also thrived through gender discrimination in the form of patrilineal, where a child was always assigned the caste of his father. Vemula, by opting for his mother's caste, defied both the norms. He was a Sankara child who did not take his father's caste, which was higher than his mother's in fact, and chose to opt for his mother's caste. So, a Dalit feminist reading reveals how gender is also an inseparable part in the caste system, and an intersectional standpoint reveals this understanding. The concept of intersectionality, while critical of identity politics for its focus on a single axis of identity, also posits an alternative intersectional identity, which in the case of Dalit feminism is the Dalit woman. This book explores identity constitution by Dalit women themselves. Dalit women's autobiographies, read in contradistinction to autobiographies written by mainstream Indian feminism and also Dalit politics, reveal the savarnanization of Indian woman and the masculinization of Dalit. They also explore the complexity and specificity of Dalit women's intersectional identity through the notion of dual patriarchies, which are Brahmanical and Dalit patriarchies. However, Dalit feminism is not limited only to the self-articulations of Dalit women, which would in fact trap it in the authenticity debate. Now, it is also a political intervention, and this is evident in how it engages with the politics of representation. So, with respect to Dalit women's representations vis-a-vis sexuality and labor, the book explores how Dalit feminism problematizes mainstream feminist notion of agency through choice and challenges Dalit representations of Dalit women as victims. It also goes beyond the binarism of victimhood and agency and discovers new ways of achieving agency through negotiation and solidarity. This representational analysis shows that Dalit feminism is an epistemological project that intervenes in how or what knowledge is produced about Dalit women and who can be or become a Dalit feminist. Herein, I investigate the contribution of Dalit feminism to the entire project of knowledge production. It probes into the relationship between power and knowledge and sees how it affects the production of knowledge. By elucidating the framework of intersectional standpoint through analysis of texts that are neither centered on Dalit women nor are written or produced by Dalit women, I show that a Dalit feminist standpoint is concerned less with who is speaking for or as a Dalit feminist and emerges more as a mode of analysis of a text, issue, or event from a caste and gender angle that challenges the dominant readings and transforms our understanding of the intersecting systems of oppression. The conclusion, therefore, shows that Dalit feminism is not just about identity category, Dalit woman, but is an epistemology that uses the standpoint of Dalit women to intervene both in the dominant systems of oppression and the resistance politics of mainstream Indian feminism and Dalit politics. I would also like to clarify that by discursive mapping, I do not mean to impose any homogeneity, especially across regions. Dalit women's movements emerged at different times in different regions and have their own histories to follow. So what I attempt through this mapping is to chart out the dominant concepts so as to provide an introduction to the discourse called Dalit feminism. For this reason, I specifically choose the 1990s because it marks Dalit feminism's entry in the academia and in the global platform. Over the past 2 decades, Dalit feminism has been established not only at the institutional level through the publication of scholarly articles on the subject, but also through autobiographies and literary writings by Dalit women in various regional languages and also in English translations as well as writings originally in English. Now these writings have marked an explosion of Dalit women's voices. The range of Dalit feminist discourse is also evident through cultural productions and cultural critiques. In 2002, the establishment of Kabir Kala Manch provided a platform to voice a cultural resistance to caste and gender-based oppression, where students and young activists actually performed on the streets, and they shook up the cultural scene through their musical and theatrical performances. They also performed in the streets and slums. Moreover, documentaries and films such as Turup and Khakus have highlighted the perspectives of Dalit women in showing how the intersection of caste and gender produces specific situations for Dalit women. Websites such as countercurrents.org and roundtableindia.co.in, though began as online repositories promoting Dalit voice, have started incorporating large numbers of articles focusing on Dalit women's issues. They have also included a separate section on patriarchy. Dalitweb.org, also known as Savari, is a website dedicated to Dalit women. Dalit feminism, therefore, has emerged as a distinct theoretical formulation, and this becomes evident through the vast multifaceted discourse of Dalit feminism from literary texts, scholarly articles, cultural productions, and political configurations. These recent debates show that Dalit feminism has not only reached its peak in terms of the emergence of Dalit women's voices, both in political, literary, and scholarly spheres. The different conversations regarding autonomy and solidarity emphasize that there is a need to have conversations conceptually between mainstream Indian feminism, Dalit politics, and Dalit feminism. However, due to its vast spectrum, discussions about and approaches towards Dalit feminism remains sprinkled around in the fields of activism, literature, and popular culture. This book analyzes this vast field to extract from it the underlying ideas and concepts that tie together as a theoretical framework. So, this book is important for several reasons. It makes an intervention into the ongoing conversations regarding caste and gender, the need for Dalit feminism as a discourse that understands the intersections of caste and gender rather than viewing them as mutually exclusive systems of operation is especially relevant at present. Hence, there is a growing relevance of this mapping. This book is also envisioned as an academic contribution. This will be a useful monograph for academicians and students belonging to a wide range of disciplines, namely literature, literary theory, sociology, Dalit studies, gender studies, history, and South Asian studies. Keeping in mind the ongoing debates and movements regarding caste system and gender in the country, this book will add an insightful perspective to these ongoing dialogues. In fact, each chapter from the book can be prescribed by teachers and to students as standalone essays to have a comprehensive idea of Dalit feminism from different angles. I would like to draw special attention to the appendix, which was curated keeping the academic importance in mind. Now, this book proposes a framework which is termed intersectional standpoint to define the Dalit feminist lens. The first chapter of this book explores how intersectional standpoint utilizes intersectionality as a tool to create a standpoint. The contribution of intersectional standpoint in Dalit feminism to identify the simultaneity of caste and gender has been explored extensively in the consecutive chapters. Hence, the appendix includes some analytical readings on intersectionality and standpoint theory. It is followed by an annotated bibliography which provides a comprehensive list of some of the earliest and most well-known positions and debates on these theoretical frameworks. It is hoped that this appendix will be especially helpful for students and researchers of gender, feminism, and women's studies.